Well, let's clean this thing up. I hate working on dirty equipment, so it'll take a few minutes to clean this off on top of the deck as well as beneath it. First, I'm going to remove the mower blade. You'll need a 15mm socket for this. I'll use an impact gun. It makes this job easy. I'll flip the deck over. Now I'm going to take the pulley off that spindle. I'm going to use a 22mm socket for that. That's what will work. If you have an impact gun, use it. It makes this job really a lot easier. And here's the pulley. See all that wobble? That's the spindle wobbling. In the bearings are totally shot. I'm just going to pry it up with a hammer. You can use anything you have, but this seemed to work okay. Now I'm going to remove the spindle housing. It's just a big piece of aluminum. It has the two bearings in it, top and bottom. 10mm socket for this. And then it'll drop out the bottom. It doesn't pull out the top. You'll see. Try to be orderly and hang on to all your nuts and bolts so you're not like looking for them later. Okay, here's the housing off with the spindle still in it. I'm going to put the nut on. I'm going to, this spindle's kind of pressed into the bearings, so I've got to get that out without damaging the threads on the spindle. So just put the nut back on and get her started on her way off and take the spindle out. And she should come out. Oh wow, ball bearings just rolling all over the place. Yeah, this this bearing is definitely shot. There's pieces of it, half a bearing, couple of ball bearings. The rest of them are on the driveway. They rolled all over the place. The other half of that bearing is still in the housing. You can see it here. I'm gonna have to get that out. Here's the spindle and the parts that go in it. This sleeve goes on the inside of the spindle, so don't forget to put that back in when you're putting it back together. To knock the one bearing out the top end of this, I'm going to use a 17mm socket and just an extension, and just whack it with a hammer a few times. Should come loose. You might need to put the housing against something solid to do that. Now I'm going to work on the bottom end. I have still that half a bearing in there, and I'm just going to... I put it over the hole in the mower deck, kind of where it came from. I know it mounted from the underside, but you know, just to hold it so I can knock that other half of this bearing off. Hopefully, anyway. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. She's off. Okay, so here's the housing. Here's the new upper bearing. This will be closed on both sides, and you're just going to have to press this if you have a press, or in my case, we're using a rubber mallet. We use what we got, you know. And you're just going to have to keep banging. You could put a socket over this so it pushes evenly on the whole bearing, but I just decided to go after it with this hammer. And you're going to push the bottom one in the same way. The bottom one, the bearing's the same diameter, but it looks different. It's only sealed on one side. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, here's the bottom bearing now. See how it's not sealed on the one side? It's all packed with grease and everything. The greasy side will go towards the inside of the housing, and the sealed side towards the outside, the side you will see. So that's how that goes on. I'll throw a little Loctite on these spindle housing bolts. That should, you know, really don't need them coming loose. So remount the spindle housing the way you took it off. And you're just going to have to bang the spindle up from the bottom a little bit. It's like a hex head. That's what holds the pulley. And don't forget your spacer. I didn't show you me putting it on, but I did. The end of the spindle has a hex head on it, and that's what keeps the pulley turning. Put your belt on the pulley before you put this on. You're not going to be able to get it on after. That black guard won't allow enough space. You would have to remove it or the pulley again to get that on, so try to do that. And after you have that on, just kind of bang the spindle up from the bottom and get it seated, then put your nut on. Again, it's a 22 millimeter socket you'll need. I'm going to use an impact gun. Okay, we got that on tight now. I'd like to flip the deck over. See no wobble in that. Isn't that great? Bearings are 2 new bearings. It's a miracle. I'm going to put new blades on this. So I'm going to put them on. I'm going to use an impact on that again. Again, the blades will use a 15 millimeter socket. I'm going to put these on with an impact gun as well.